All right, welcome to the live stream where we're going to make my games to production ready. Like you can see here, originally the project was made for the arcade project, and you can see that originally sorry that I'm going to repeat myself because there was something here in the way. But you can see that originally the engine was made in 2.5 months for the Halloween project. With my custom arcade cabinets and such a thing. But the problem is that because I built it in 2.5 months, I basically the engine is a bit rushed. So I really need to tackle some stuff to make sure that it's production ready. We are now currently at the point that we have. Let me show it to you. In here in the engine, we have tackled the visual designer, which is meant for the documentation, and the asset packer, and we have refactored the game loop, and we have add component systems for the game objects, which is, by the way, we're now going to use for the GUI system, and we have refactored the render pipeline, and now we are starting with a simple UI system. So in that regard, you can see that all the games are still working and running, all fine. There you go. You see that we have a nice CT shader built in with game controller support, also the original arcade controllers and more. But that is not what we're going to focus on today. Today we will, you see here that I was in the previous stream, I was working on the GUI system, and I basically refactor it to make sure that we have a nice starting point to make an actual menu system. Because like in many games, you really like to have something like a menu to start, the options, the exit. Maybe in the future that we can also change the resolution and more. But how does it look now? Let me show it to you. If it doesn't look like much now, but we have some squares, and basically we are able to stack them automatically without doing any calculations. So in the way that it currently works is that we have here a panel item, and then we can add a stack item, and then for each item we have basically a panel item. And then in the panel item, we can, for example, set a rectangle element, a text element. And if you see here, yet again, then you can see, voila, everything will be nicely calculated and positioned. And that's the way that currently the basic GUI system is working. I know it looks now just like a simple thingy. But now, let's make some fun. Let's do some actual fun, and let's try to make an actual input system. The way that I am now want to do it is just by doing a very at a very simplistic way, and then later we can maybe adjust it to have like a general system around it. But for now, let's just but what do we actually need for a menu system? Menu system is basically that we know the position of where the actual position is for the in the menu, and that we know that it's choosing that action. So that's what we're now going to do. So first we need to add something that we can know the menu position. Position 0. And we have something like a list. Private list. By the way, if you want to know something, then please let me know. Let's think. Maybe I should add a small class. Public class. Menu item. There you go. Then we have something like a public string, the name, and we have of course the public action. And then it's the and that's the selected. There you go. And then we can add those menu items, and let's try to make something very simplistic now. Menu items dot add, and then we're going to add a new menu item, which is why is this not cannot resolve symbol? But really has a mind of his own, isn't it? I thought it was so smart enough to understand right that it understands what I really want to do. But for some reason it didn't. So let's make it a bit more fun. Let's create something like start game. In uppercase, of course, start game. And let's add some options. Why not? And let's make exit. Why not? Then we can also say here environment dot exit 0. Then we actually going to close the game. Here we're going to say console dot write line start game, and in here we're going to say options. Then we at least know what we are selecting, right? All right. Well, we have now this part, but we are not going to use this. So I'm just going to remove the temporary place this in here. So we have something to reference to. There you go. So first thing that we need is an GUI dot new add item. That will be a new stack element with bounds of new rectf. Let's start on position 32 with I don't care about the size, and the direction is by default that it's going down, which is in my opinion fine. Then we also need to make sure that we are closing the item. Now we're going to say, and by the way, maybe you have seen that you're not stacking things on each other. You are just doing it in a more how do you call it? More in the same way that you're doing it in I'm a GUI. And the reason for it is that then things like developing the menu and such thing is, in my opinion, way easier. For each menu item, there you go. Then we're going to add an a panel, which is basically the most simple for container form, because you have a difference in a normal solution and in a normal way and the better way, if you can call it like that. And then we're going to set it to 32 high. By the way, the stack element is also already making sure that we have a gap. So in here we can say close item, and then we need to add something that we can see the text, right? So we're going to add an item, new. Do we want to have a rectangle line element? I think so. So first we're going just to render out the menu items. And then we're going to do some interaction for it. Let's pick for a color for now. Color that what makes sense. I think gray. Sure, why not? 2 segments. Sorry. Then we're going to add a GUI. Add GUI. Oh, I see that we only have currently only a rectangle lines element. And we want to have an text element. Wait. I think, yeah, this is still old. This is not needed anymore. All right. So we're going to ask on the first one is color.gray. Then we're going to ask on the text manager the get font, which is the default one. What will be the text? Well, the text will be menu item.name. Select, oh yeah, and yeah, wait, this is not the correct name for it. Let's change this name to on selected, because now it was looking like that that specific one was selected. It doesn't make sense. All right. And the rest is all fine. So now it should be as easy as pie. And if we now run it, then we should see menu items. I hope. Yeah, there you go. We have the menu items. Isn't that beautiful? It's a bit... okay, I'm currently missing an option that we can align it automatically in the middle. But that's something we can easily address in the future. That's the benefit of having this system in place. So for now, we need to live with it that we are just stacking it in the middle. All right. Makes sense? Sounds good. So now we need to make sure that we are actually menu position. Yes. So we have the inputs, get state, and we need to know the one, and we need to know if we are pressing up or down. This is, by the way, in my through my input manager, and is pressed because we only want to do it if it's actually been pressed. So you can already see that I am not working with events but just by on the actual hold live loop is pressed and menu position is higher than 0, then we're going to say menu position plus plus. There you go. This is also at the same time a nice tryout how easy it is to work with the new GUI system. Down is pressed, menu item is lower than item.count -1. Is that true? Yeah, that's true. Okay. So now we know which position we are. The only thing is that we currently are doing a for each, but I don't think a for each is currently doing it because we need to know the position. So are we going to change this to a normal for loop, and then the menu var menu item is item.e, and then we're going to copy it in here. There you go. Voila. Then we want to have it in E is, wait, let me just specify the color in here. Color is color.gray. There you go. Color. All right. Then if E is menu position, then color is, let's do a fun color, which is maybe magenta something. Why not, right? Magenta. There you go. Color. All right. Let's run this. Well, it does work partially, but not what I was expecting. Also, why are we only seeing now only partially the items? Panel item. Yes, that's correct. Which it was correct. But wait. Why am I missing an option? Huh. Oh, wait. Yeah, of course. It is without the minus. There you go. Okay. Oh, wait. There you go. Well, this is working fine. You see? We have now a basic menu system in place. Doesn't look that pretty now, Okay, next step. We need to able to invoke it. If let's just copy over this line. Then game input is start. Sure, why not? That's probably bound on enter. Another nice thing is that it's automatically also working for a controller. I don't have currently a controller here laying around, but it should work. You have my promise. All right. Let's see. Can we select something? Take a close look at the bottom. Yes, yes. And I think if we now click this one, there you go. We're closing the application. But this is all fine, but it's now real direct and there is no real interaction, right? So what we can do is add a private timer on the selected timer. Is a new timer on which is 100,000. There you go. And we need to know if something is selected. So we're going to add selected. Then what we can do then is, I'm sorry that I didn't explain it, but then we can maybe add a small blinking effect or something. So we also need another one, which is private fixed timer. And that's the animation timer. Is a new fixed timer. .0, I think. Yeah, something like that. Then it's going to make a blinking effect. So let's see. So before we going to do anything really with this one, and we're going to ignore the input while the timer on. No, the selected timer dot output. If it's negative, then it's not going to do anything with it. That's we making sure that you cannot change while it's animating or changing stuff. It does make it will make sense after a certain time. No worries. But and also we want to make sure that the timer is being updated based on the selected timer dot update with. Then we're going to say selected is true. There you go. Then this will basically say is that after a second, then the whole second, this will be true. No. It will be. Wait. If not no, it's still a way around. So if then if selected timer dot output, then we're going to say selected is false. Then we're going to switch back. and we're going to do the actual action. Yeah. All right. So that makes sure that that part is working. Then we also need to always update the animation timer dot update with the delta time. And now we can do some fun stuff. So we have then another condition here in the when we know that this one is selected. Then we're going to say if selected, else we're going to do this. And then I don't think we need brackets here. Color is, and then what will we do? Well, we have here the animation timer dot output. And then we're going to say color dot magenta, else color that blank. Why blank? Because then now I'm thinking of it. We can also just hide it. Will also easier, but this does the same trick. Doesn't really matter in the end. So in theory, it should now work. There you go. Now we have some feedback that it's selecting the item. But it's going a bit slow and also quite long. So otherwise it will be a very annoying menu system. And now the nice part is that because normally we're closing directly the application, but now it will wait for 500 milliseconds until it's really doing something. So then pop, there you go. Very nice. We can also add some maybe some sounds or something. It's also possible, but for now, let's well, we can add sounds if we really want. But that means that I need to set it up. Do we want to set it up? It won't be that hard. Sound effects. Well, we do have we can just, no, not this one, because this one has quite a lot. I think Snake does have some easy to use sound effects. Yes, this one. So what we're going to do is we're going to copy over this to the asset folder. Assets, edit, paste. Is it going to whine about it? Nope. Amazing. Let's have some sounds. All right. Now we need to set up some sounds as well, the actual sounds as well. That means that we need to have, because it's the same as with in Snake, we have the game objects that no, no, not in snake objects. We have, uh, let me see, data, snake sounds. The name doesn't really matter. It's not really something that is really correct now, but we can just rename it to game sounds. Why not? All right. Now we at least have some sounds. Then we can copy over. You can also just generate it, but let's just. I was not planning to plan too much time for this. Snake, snake, snake. Not snake, but we want to have it in examples, and also it will be nice that we have some. In general, we have some sounds. Set resource. What is it complaining about? Find all sounds. Oh, wait. Game sounds. There you go. Now it's happy. All right. Cool. We have now correctly set up the sounds, so we can do some annoying sounds as well. Maybe I sound a bit repetitive, but sound manager is, well, this is not the correct one. Sound FX resource. Is it sound wait. Sound FX manager. There you go. Game sounds. All right. And this one is never null. Cool. Then, when we are dropping down in the menu, then we want to play a sound. And when we are selecting something, then we want to play a sound, right? Otherwise, it will be a very boring menu system. And this is also a nice thing, is that with for the sound system, is that scores. I think score change. This is also a nice one because you have an enum, and then you can just select, and you can never have an issue with the typos or whatever. And then we want to have power up collect. So now it should work. Well, that sounds a bit boring. I thought it was more an power up score. Why not? There you go. Look at that. Within 30 minutes, we have a working a working menu system. I know it's a bit rudimental, but you know what the nice thing about this is? What the nice thing about this is that because it's living in my GUI system, what we also can do, if you think, well, maybe we want to have it like a menu that's going from left to right, right? Normally you need to recalculate or do a lot of refactoring. Here you don't, because if we can just say here the with the gap is 4, and then the direction direction vector 2 new vector 2 with let's put the direction to instead of to 1 to 0 with an I'm by the way thinking of making an additional helper that we can just say direction right, left, top, right. Otherwise it's a bit. And then because I already have a UV helper, which also really helps. This is all the way, by the way, could be maybe a bit confusing, but if you go to the right, that means that you always need to make sure that you put the alignment based on the left. The other way, always on the other way. Otherwise, the items will be really strangely ordered. So that means that we need to choose now left. By the way, now I'm thinking of it. Let's just add that one with direction. There you go. Add direction. Then we don't have center, but we do have left top, which means -1, -1. Right top is right top is right top. Yes, I am sounding a bit like an idiot, but but everything that's basically now 0, and this one will be 0, this one will be 0, this one will be 0, and this will be -1, 0, 0. Does that make sense? Yes, that makes sense. So if you go right, then we go right, left, right. Okay, there you go. Why I am doing this? Because I am doing a lot of those things, and now it makes it way easier that you can just say direction dot right, and also makes the code easier to read. Do you guys agree? All right. Let's see if this is now working. If we now have a menu from left to right, we do. Only thing is that the alignment is a bit off because it doesn't fit anymore. But that's something we can fix. That means that we need to put the menu items a bit smaller. There you go. Size is 12. And then we can make it a bit tiny bit smaller. There you go. But yeah, the only thing now is that the menu is now doing with up and down instead of left or right. It doesn't make sense. But let's address this quickly. Left and right. There you go. Yeah, now it feels natural. So now we have option, select and exit. But personally, I also really like to have an option that I know it's a bit of outside. This is not really part of the menu system, but it will be nice that we are able to put this one to the center instead of on the left top, which should be doable. But that means, and I was just thinking to put the panel element that we have an option that we can assign an UV on it. And what do I mean with the UV is a value between 0 and 1. And that basically means on which corner it is. So if you have 0 0.5, 0 0.5, then it will be in the middle. That's the way that it works. All right. Because now we are putting it to the element position. The element bound, we are putting it to this specific position, but that doesn't make sense. Yeah. So in here we're going to make a global call, or no, not a global, a private vector2 with an UV vector.0. Is that correct? Then it will always be default on the top left. Is that something that we want to have as default? I don't think we're going to put it here, but because we can also say here vector2 dot UV is null, then is vector.0. Okay. Well, we can also just say direction dot top left top, which will basically be 0. No, you idiot. It's not direction, it's UV helper. And this one should be 0, 0. Yes, correct. Okay. Otherwise, we will have very interesting effects, which is something you definitely don't want. So, but now comes the amazing part, is that I also did a refactor on the whole system. That in here we can easily just say item element bound, which is element bound is, by the way, the size of the actual container where we are in. Then we can say align. Let's give me some suggestions. Then it will ask for the inner rect. And then we don't care about the position anymore. Vector.0. And then we are putting in here the UV, it seems. There you go. And it's interesting because it's a private. So in the official way that you are naming things, you should put it in the correct name. And then it's not this, by the way. Rider is really strange today. But that's something that I'm saying a lot. All right. So now we have the panel that is able to position automatically the items into the in the center. I hope, because it's let's see if this is going to work. So we now have a stack element, but we also need to add a GUI add item new panel element. And then we're going to say new rect f 0, 0 with the, oh, and this is, by the way, nice. Now you're probably going to ask, but what is the actual width and the height of the container? Well, that's surprisingly easy now, because we have access to the render target dot render width, and the render target dot render height. And this one will always be based on the current render canvas that is running on, because currently we have a special render target that's always on fixed size, which is I think currently 640 by 360. And if we are using a different one, then it will automatically going to change this. So this should, in theory, work. In theory, doesn't matter. UV helper dot center. So we're going to put it in the middle. I hope. Okay. What's happening here? I think I broke something. Left top. Really interesting. Let's see. Where is it? Panel elements. Align. Because in here we should only have one item. No, we have two. Rectangle element and then... Oh, wait. Yeah, of course. We are also having it on the other one. Damn it. Git show history. What was it before? Edit GUI items. And this one is rectef. Let me see if this is still working with the old situation. Element bound dot align item element bound dot size should work. Okay. It's because we added a panel around the stack. It seems that it didn't really like, which is interesting. Container stop. Yeah, I must say that the system is still experimental in some cases, so it could be indeed like you already have seen, is that it's sometimes giving some issues, but I must say that from the start it was going a bit too good. So because if I'm now just removing this, then everything should still be fine. But it's a bit surprising that I also don't think that this is the issue, because this is something that I have tested a lot. So it should be fine. Yes. But why is it calculating in such a strange way? Item element bound at size. Yes, this is correct. Let me add some helpers so we can see what it's actually doing. Will be a nice challenge to see if we can add an alignment. Because currently it's this part is a bit broken. Let me add some additional helpers. Then now it's going to look really funky. You see? Well, it doesn't even look that ugly. All right. But why is it doing like that? That's the question. So in here, we add a panel item with a render width and render height, which should be large enough. But you see, it's completely messing up the layout currently. On GUI item created element bounds. Item.element bounds is element bounds. Let's try some stuff out to see if we can address this issue. Well, that fixed it for a small portion. Also, why are we not doing it before? Starting to be really funky. Which is interesting because I was testing this with multiple items stacked to each other and more, and it was all working fine. But now it seems a bit broken. On child UI item create edit, which is great. Update children, which is also good. And in here, this one. But it's really interesting why it's because it should resize and then it should be aligning correctly, which is a bit odd. Why it's now doing like that. Let's keep it the old one that which we really know that one was working, but but it's really strange that it's now collapsing on top each other, because it should just, it looks like it's almost overriding each other. Update children. Let me see. Grid is a rectangle item list. Oh, yes. Then text element, stack element, panel element, rectangle element, text element. Okay. Okay, let's... No, this is really, this should be quite simple. So it should be fine. Um, why is it putting it in such a strange way? Because when we are updating the children, then the stack element should update the bounds to the correct way. Which should be fine. Really interesting why this is happening. Update bounds. Then it should calculate all the new positions, which should be correct. Um, why is it? I'm really surprised that it's doing this strange behavior. On element edit, finalized. For each update children. This one should be fine. Let's turn everything off for now. No, it's still messed up. And it's only when when we're adding a panel item before the stack item. And the stack element, does it really... Wait, let me try to set something up in here. Game sounds, no. In the GUI test, we are here setting it to 00. But if I'm, for example, putting it to 200.32, then it's still looking odd. But why? Why, oh why? Update bounce. First item is a panel item, which has currently a position of 32, which should be correct. But the current item, the current element bounce is also 32 by 32 by 150 by 150, which is, by the way, not correct. Because the panel item should basically put all the child elements to the same size as the other one. But now the options is now in the middle. Um, really odd behavior. But let's try to make it a little bit simpler for now to prevent any strange additional behavior. So let's disable the menu for now. And let's wait, add item. Oh, wait a minute. I see where it's going wrong. We are closing items. Ah, damn it. There you go. I was closing the items too much. That was probably the reason why the GUI was looking odd and off. Now it should look okay-ish. There you go. Now it's at least looking fine. I was also a bit surprised because I already tested this all beforehand, and then at a certain time, sometimes it's just then you're thinking, wait, why is this not working? Well, then you have somewhere that answer. Okay, well, that part is now working, but it doesn't update the children correctly because the menu is still on the left top. So, but that's something that is easy to address. Item.element bound. I think it's because of the wrong order. There you go. And the nice part is now we have the menu in the middle, which is nice. But here comes the thing. If we, for example, want to put the menu below, so you can put some nice visuals in the middle, then we have another problem. Let's try to fix that part. Let me show to you what I mean with this is that because if I'm now saying here to the bottom, then of course it's going to work. That's there is not really a problem. But yeah, well, you can see it's too far down. And we're not going to just simply and I already implemented something that is set padding, which will be padding all. Then we can, for example, say 32. But if we are now doing this, it's going to ignore it because it's not implemented. You see? So let's try to address this. Align. Then we have the element bound.size. And the problem here is that currently the we first need to have the inner element bound is item dot element bound plus item dot plus dot margin padding. There you go. Nice thing is that I added some magical function here, and it will automatically calculate, and then it will shrink. I hope. Then in here, instead of picking up the, oh wait, of course I need to pick the normal one. Item dot padding. There you go. And then we're going to say the inner element bound dot align. And now let's see if this is working. There you go. Boop. And now we have a nice menu at the bottom. And it doesn't matter in which resolution we are running. It will always guarantee that it will work. Let me show it to you. If I am here going to the config, which is by the way something that I really like to expose in the game itself, but for now let's keep it as is. So if I'm now putting this one to, for example, 1280.720, which is exactly double the size. Let's run it. Then it should still, there you go. It's still nicely at the bottom and in the middle. I know it looks a bit small now, but so let's return this. All right. Looking good, looking sharp. Also, I see still that we have the in here we have the register draw with the debuggers. Let's disable those, because then you can at least see what we are doing. There you go. All right. That part is now working. But now comes the question, what if we have a lot more items, and then we basically want to automatically move, basically that we have a scroll system in place that we can then just basically manipulate on which position we really like to have it. Because let me show you what the current issue is. Well, there's not really an issue, but if we have more menu items, because we cannot make it not more small, way more smaller. Let's add in here panel item, GUI tests. There you go. Yes. So we have another option which is called achievements, which is called, of course, achievements, and we have credits. Why not? Credits. Well, the problem now is that if we are now going to start this, you see, first of all, achievements is too long. So we need to make it even larger. Let's make the... Oh, that's the wrong one. Idiot. There you go. Let's make it 180. So, there you go. So now we have indeed a nice system in place, but we basically want to have something in between that can basically mimic the scroll the offset behavior. And I don't really like to have this in the panel. Or do we want... Nah, do we want to have it in the panel? Or do we want to have it like a normal horizontal panel? Otherwise, you are making too much functionality in the panel. The panel is only a responsibility to make sure that we are aligning, and that's it, basically. Then the scroller is basically meant for to making sure that we have the offset. Sounds like a plan. Yeah, that sounds like a plan. So, because then we can also add something else on it, that we can make a clipping system, that we can only show what's inside that container, basically. And then all the items inside it will be calculated with an offset. I'm thinking of it. Let's see. Yeah, well, let's just do it. So we're going to make a copy of the... I'm probably going to make a base class for containers. Let's see. Panel, core. We have, yeah, the panel. Then we have the, which is called the scroll element. Add, there you go. And then we're going to say the scroll, scroll element, which is called the scroll element. And this one doesn't have the UV. But it will have a public vector2 with the offset is currently 0. So element bound is element bound dot padding. Then the element bound is currently set to align. First, indeed we need to align it with just on the UV UV helper dot left top left, I mean, yeah, left top, that makes sense. Then we're going to say item for rect position is offset. All right. So yeah, it's the scroll container is meant that you only have one item inside it. If you want to have multiple items, then it's advised to use something like the stack or something. So otherwise we will add a lot more complexity inside it, which is not which is not nice. Let's add this one. Add this one. Rect is this one. And why are we putting it in a separate object? Because then we can at least have something that we can adjust the offset with. And also because this item is getting created every time, we cannot do any real smooth animations with it. That's one of the downsides of doing this. We can do it, but then we need to make we need to make it from the system, from the GUI, central GUI system, with maybe some timers or something. But for now, let's just keep it as simple as is. And now we should be able to add an additional item, which is called the new scroll element. Yeah, well, this one doesn't have real size. So I'm just going to add an empty one. And then with luck, it shouldn't still look the same. It does, but not in the correct position anymore, which is a bit odd. And that's because the size is currently set to aha. Wait, that's that's by the way correct, because the current position, yeah, this is a thing, because the currently that's something I already was afraid of. Because we are working inside a container, and otherwise this stack container will be a very strange one that is going to look at the children's child size, which makes it a bit messy. But that also means that we need to add an additional panel, which will be then, yeah. So we need to add an additional panel. Which will be at render height indeed, but on 32 height. And without padding, by the way. Otherwise it doesn't make sense. There you go. Close item. So we have now a panel item, and then the other panel item that makes sure that the item is aligned still in the middle. that should address that part. It doesn't. Why? Let me see if I bring back the debuggers, then we should still see that this item is now here, but it's not taking the position correctly. It's still acting a bit random sometimes. Is it because of the new scroll item? Let's turn that one off. Then it works. Okay. But why is this then not working as expected? That's the question. Also, this one is now not positioned correctly because it's still too far down for some strange reason. Let me first address that part. All right. Because now it's too far down for a reason. Let's make sure that we have that part corrected because currently height is also UV helper bottom. And in here we have in container stop, be making sure that the object is correctly aligned. With including the padding. So it should align it correctly. But for some reason it doesn't. It's also something that it's still, oh wait, on child item edit here. Then it should add with element bound plus padding. Is that the issue? Yes. It seems so. Because now it's correctly aligned again. Still. But does that also mean that this one get correctly aligned? That's the question. No, it doesn't. Because this item is currently, which is really odd, by the way, because just for an additional test, we can also add an additional border here. Then we can disable this border. We can then say here color dot green. Why not? Let's make it green and make it 1. Then we can have a nice small line. But you can see that this line is currently put to the max. The max size. But we also at the same time saying that we really like to have everything. Oh, but why is this one getting enlarged? And that's because the panel item is resizing it. Is resizing everything to the maximum size. I think. Is it? Yes, it does. Because it's in here, it's setting the item dot element bound is element bound dot size, but here we are setting it to the um, maximum size. Um, but if we are disabling this one, then you can see that it's broken again. You see, then this is correctly aligned, but this is not correctly aligned anymore. And if we are now just putting element.bound is wait, we can make here a public bool resize elements is a get. Then we can say here bool resize elements is false, is true by default, by the way. Resize element x, resize element I, true and true. Then we have complete control for it. Let's yes and yes. Now for new size is element bound plus padding. Then if it isn't resize x, then the new size dot width is item element bound dot width, and the other one is there you go. So now we have at least control how we want to set it up. It should improve this part. Then hopefully we have addressed that specific issue. All right. Here in panel item, we have here the height, but we don't want to set the false. So this one doesn't get resized. Let's see if this is really. Uh, Element bound. Oh, of course. We need to set it to the child, not to the owner. And it's still resizing. Where does it resize? Inner new size element, which is really strange. Element bound dot width and height. So we are putting it back in theory. So that part should still work, but for some reason you can still see that this container is still getting resized for some reason. Um, okay, I think I did make an oopsie. Resize X is item.element bound dot yeah, but this should be exactly the same. So I don't really understand why that part was not really working. Why? I clearly put it to false in here. So it should just ignore it. But if I'm turning this off, then it's working fine. You see? And if I'm putting this to negative, then it also works. But now it doesn't update the children anymore, not correctly anymore. Because no, that doesn't make sense. Because this one, I don't know which size it currently is, but let me double check. It should be the size of the other one. The elements bounds is currently 640 by but the position is 32 by 32, which is not correct because it should be placed somewhere down. There's the issue. So for some reason, this panel still magically thinks, because if I now enable here this one, then I'm putting this one to dark brown, then you can see that it's at the up upper corner again. Let's make it a bit lighter. So let's put it to lime or something. Then you can see it better. You see? It's here. And also it really looks the same. So now let's make it a color rainbow format. Okay. So you can see that here it's now thinking it's here, but it should be here. Why? Good question. It's new size, but oh, wait a minute. Um, dot align new size with UV. There you go. It's been solved. But now, because we're currently working with a scroll element, which is currently this size, and in reality, we want to have it on 180 dot something something. The reason is then we have it at the center if it's doing its job. There you go. Now we have it on in the center. Woohoo! Now we're getting somewhere. Now we can do some real cool stuff. Let's first turn off that utility, because I have an option to, in the GUI, to have a private smooth value. Yes, it's indeed a smooth value with the menu position smooth. And this is a new smooth value with initial value of 0. Speed is, this is always a bit interesting to play around with, but let's do it with 5 now. Or 0.1, because I think it's currently at a fixed time. Yeah, fixed time. All right. So with then we also need to make sure that the smooth is update with the delta time, but also when we are changing the position, so then it will be the menu smooth. The real value is I of the menu position multiplied by 180f. There you go. And what can we do with it, with this? Because the scroll element, it's funny that I have here a public, but I really need to add it in the constructor. offset, the factor 2 with the offset, and then the offset is offset. And in here, we applying a new factor 2 with then indeed we need to apply it on the offset position of smooth dot display value dot 0, but in a negative. And now we should see yes, you see? Now we can have as many menu items as we want, and it will always scroll to the correct position with including a nice animation. But it's going quite quick now. Let's slow it a bit down. It almost looked like it almost looked like something, right? I know it doesn't do anything now, but let's see if we are turning off the fixed timer. Set to false. And then the speed will be, then we need to make it a bit faster. Like 20. Let's see if this is looking better. Just playing around, right? Whoa, this is slow. No, it's I think the fixed timer was better because that guarantees that it always is at a specific time. Otherwise, if you go to the right, then it takes forever to scroll to that position. But at least it already looks like something. And now we can also add something, another fun element to it on top of it. But that means that we also need to add an additional stack element. Or we can just make it large enough that we can just add on top of it now. Let's just try to put it to 64 height. Let's try that out. And it should be more in the middle, which is expected. But now we can also add an GUI add item new. But you can already see the power behind this UI system. Because it's you have such so many flexible options, but I think still we need to have something like an general helper or something that makes it easier to add menu items. But at least now you have a nice general system which can which can really help on that regard. Um, but we really like to have a text element with a color. What will we do? I thought in the thumbnail I also had a gray. What I want to do is showing something that you can go left and go that you need the arrows to go left and go right. Including a font will also be nice if you can apply an offset on each item itself. Also, now I'm thinking of it, then maybe it's also nice to have an. No, the scroll element is just for the offset. I actually maybe it will be nice that you can also assign a size to it, but for now, have it to the font. Let's see it's the text manager dot get font. Yes. Then we need to say, let's just add something simple like this and enter. Then let's add a font size of 8. And we really like to have it on the UV helper dot top. This basically means that it will be aligned on the top. All right, it should work. It does, but not in a way that I was expecting it. And funny enough is that you cannot set a rect in here. Oh, because we are currently setting it to the bottom, but we want to set it in the center. Yeah, but it's still wrong. That basically means that we need an additional stack element to correctly align this. But that's going to be an issue. Because the stack container is currently automatically changing its size. And that basically means that it will, and then I need to have an additional panel. Maybe it will be easier if we can just say we want to have an offset for the text. Let's just add it. Why not? Then in the scroll element, we have currently have here offset, but I'm thinking to apply it here in the base GUI item, so it will be exposed for everyone. Import missing references. There you go. Then what you can do now is have a little bit more control, because in the text element, text bound.position plus offset. There you go. As easy as that. And then in the base GUI item. So the scroll, now you're probably thinking, but what's the point of that scroll element then? The scroll element has still a very important role because that is doing the internal elements, changing its offset. And for this offset, it's only applying it for the specific item inside it. Base item set color, why not? And oh, that's true. We also have that one. Set offset. There you go. Boom. So now we can do without any trickery. Size, yes, is color gray, which is correct. We have the size, but it's still strange that that this is not working as what I was expecting, but doesn't really matter. Something to check out in the future. So in here, set offset. Then we can going to say new vector 2 minus it's the size of the string, so let's apply it with some margin 0 dot minus 10. There you go. So now we should have we should have it. But can also put it below, which makes more sense in my opinion. So we can also apply it like this on 48. Then it should be, there you go. And now to add something additional fun, and sorry, another animation timer. Which will be around like 500 milliseconds, and then it will be the helper animation. Why not, right? Then we can say update delta time. There you go. And we have here the offsets. Let's add it below. Then we have the 0 position. But let's calculate offset here for offset helper x is the helper animation dot the normalized elapse, which is a value between 0 and 1, by the way. Then multiply by 32. And then we're going to do minus 16. And now it's only going to jump like this, but that's something we can address very easy because we have a tween. Then we can then do an something with normal up and down. Then it will go up and down. With also a tween dot to make it a little bit nicer with the animation. We can also apply an, how they call it, easing. Apply easing. There you go. So in here, then we can say, for example, there you go. That's the benefit if you're sometimes jumping from Mac and Windows. Then sometimes I'm pressing the Windows key to get my helper functions. Ease in and out. Why not? There you go. So now we have the helper offset X and I. And now comes and I think now it's going to look fun. It does, but it's a bit twitchy, right? You saw it very quick. Way too fast. Way too fast. But that's something we can easily address. Let's do something like 200 milliseconds. Then we're going to disable this renderer if something is selected, because then we don't want to show it. And now you can also see what's the power behind this, that you are adding elements in this way, and not that you need to call inside. Then you need to work with IDs and more, because the nice thing here is that everything is you need to fill it in by every update. So you also don't have anything related to tracking or history, or you need to change the information later. It's just really simple and straightforward to build. Oh wait, it's the other way around. So now, by the way, I think the offset is still a bit too far down. Sorry, that's something from my CSS time. It's something that really is itching me. There you go. But we can also make it white. Why not? Then at least it is clear that you need to do something. There you go. I know maybe it's better in the future to have some icons or something, but for now, and if I now, yes. But I think for this live stream we went quite far with the menu. So then it's basically just making sure that it's easier to implement. And then you can have other options like drop downs and options to change specific values to specific resolutions, those kind of things. So, but that's something for in the future. I am currently, in my opinion, really happy with the results. The normal planning is, by the way, that we have, I always stream on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. But because of the holidays and some Christmas parties, I am not able to stream on Wednesday and Friday. So for the upcoming stream, it will be, I will see you on Monday. All right. See you the next time. And thank you for watching. All right. Bye.